Welcome back to another episode of The Football Frauds. My name's Miles.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Matt.
We're all three frauds. Three frauds amongst us. We're going through the AFC North. All right? We're talking AFC North football, hard-nosed, freaking cold football. All right? We're going through all four teams. We're talking about needs. We're talking about potential free agent plays. We're going through their whole rosters.
We're talking about holes.
We're exploring every hole that we can find on each team.
Some of these teams have holes that you don't even want to see.
You don't want to see a lot of these teams' holes, but we're going to look at them because this is our obligation as men and as frauds. We're going to go through each team. We're going to start with the dumpster of the NFL, perhaps
Yeah.
the worst franchise in the NFL over the past 30 years, the Cleveland Browns.
But before, Connor, you said you wanted to say something.
I do.
Oh, my bad.
Am I able to do that?
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Saturday. Miles turns 26 years old.
Oh.
So, the fraud that leaves the best comment wishing Miles a happy birthday in the comments
I don't... Okay.
will get 3 huzzahs on our next episode.
3
Huzzah!
Huzzah, huzzah. That could be for you if you leave in the comments. Miles is one of my favorite people in the whole world, so just keep that in mind. Be nice in the comments. Let me know have a birthday, and we love you if you love us.
This could be a life-changing moment for you.
If there's ever one single negative comment about me being bald or ugly in the comments, I will quit the show.
No, we won't take it.
How do you feel about that, Miles? Are you excited?
My first reaction was to be scared of people making fun of me for being bald.
Okay.
In the comments.
Yes.
Speaking of being bald and ugly, let's take a dive into these Cleveland Browns.
Hell yeah.
Let's be honest, the Cleveland Browns have been terrible for a while. I think in order to understand where they're at right now, you need to know the Deshaun Watson trade, the owner, Miles knows his name, he owns the Bucks.
Jimmy Haslam.
By all accounts, Jimmy Haslam forced the trade when Deshaun Watson came off all those allegations. They traded multiple first-round picks, gave him a massive contract with fully guaranteed money, and what they did for 3 or 4 years was push that contract out, sign him to the minimum as they could, and put it in the future. It was a $250 million contract. It's been like 3 or 4 years. They still have to pay him another $130 million. So going into this year, they still owe Deshaun Watson $80 million to do nothing. It would be the biggest cap hit in history if they don't adjust it. And honestly, folks, I don't think they should because the Browns need to be terrible. They ran the credit card for years and years hoping to maximize this Deshaun Watson window. It didn't work. And realistically, they need to just bottom out because they're so far away. A fun stat for you guys, the cap room is $300 million in the NFL for next year. The Browns are currently paying players that are not going to be on the roster $175 million.
Oof.
That is over 60% of their roster. They're just paying guys that don't exist. So let's take a dive into their free agents. How about the entire offensive line? The 6th most relevant offensive lineman for the Browns will not be playing from last year to this year. The guys that have been there for a while and have been good in years past, Joel Petonio, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin, their center, Ethan Pocic, don't know that one. Anyone that had a slightly average PFF rating from last year, completely gone. Their offensive line's wiped out. The receiver room was not good last year. Jerry Jeudy, you'd think they're paying him, I think, $26 million a year. He was below average. I don't think he even reached 60 for PFF. Is what I'm using PFF as a rating because I don't watch film on all these guys, but it gives a good idea where they're at. And quarterback, we know what happened with Shedeur. I mean, what do you guys think about the Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel thing?
Well, I think that if you're going to generate any sort of revenue into this franchise, you need a story. You need something that people will like engage with.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders sold jerseys. He put people in seats, and he was clearly the worst quarterback in the NFL.
But the pick made sense in the 5th round.
Yeah, but I think you could tell that no one actually was involved with football wanted Shedeur there.
Yeah.
And it got late enough that they were like, someone higher up, possibly the owner, was like, take the guy.
Yeah. Miles, I think what's really interesting is that their draft class with Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson and Harold Fannin and Carson Schwessinger,
Yep.
they were hitting on every player, but then they take their third-round pick, still pretty high, and they go Dylan Gabriel. Like, that didn't seem to make any sense for what they were doing with their team.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume that Haslam made the pick for Sanders. It doesn't make any sense to go Gabriel. If they go Gabriel in the third round, you're just assuming that, okay, they think that he can really be a starter for them, or at least a solid. I mean, if you take a guy in the third round, you'd think that we think this guy can start for us.
Yeah.
There's obviously no logical plan where you take another quarterback in the fifth round, because there's just no way in training camp or development-wise where you can get those guys first-team reps or second-team reps, given they had Pickett there to start the year. So it doesn't make sense to actually develop a guy and take two quarterbacks. So that's why it seems like Sanders was a call-in from the owner.
I want to ask you guys this. So obviously, people in the organization said that quarterbacks are assets.
Yep.
And that's why they drafted them. When they were posed, why would you do the exact thing we just described? And part of me wonders if they had no intention of either of these guys being long-term. But if you have starting tape from two rookie quarterbacks and they show at least one team in the NFL that they have potential, could you get then compensation back for them? Do I think that someone would trade more than a third for Dylan Gabriel? No.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it's always that question of like, is there some greater scheme that we're not seeing here?
I mean, they did that with Flacco. So they had Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel, and Sanders to start, which is another reason where it's like, how can you possibly get these guys reps in training camp and know who they are?
So weird.
Mm-hmm.
They traded Flacco for a 6. They traded Pickett for a 6. And it's like, okay, I guess you're accumulating assets and trying to move them, but
Yeah. I think it was like they gave up a 5th and got a 6 for Pickett.
Yeah.
Not the end of the world.
Essentially.
Well,
nothing.
and like to your point, when you're in literal, like people say their team's in cap hell.
Yeah.
This team is in cap hell.
Oh, completely.
And
you look,
yeah.
you look at their roster. They have Myles Garrett,
Mm-hmm.
a couple other players. Denzel Ward, I think, is their star corner.
Yeah.
That's about it.
And in the grand scheme of things, you really just need cheap darts to throw.
Yeah.
And you need a lot of them if you're going to do anything.
I'm going to dive quick into some of their free agents. So they have $3 million cap space, and because they're so far away from competing, I don't think they should re-sign any of these guys. But David Njoku, you know him from fantasy. He's gone. He had below average PFF last year. Their safety, Ronnie Hickman, he had a 72 last year, so that's above average. That's a guy they're just going to have leave. And then the linebacker that complemented Carson Schwessinger was Devin Bush. He had an 88 PFF, so that's like top 5 for linebackers. They don't have money, and they don't it doesn't make sense to keep that guy, so he's got to go. And then I'm just going to dive in to some of their positions, what they should do in the offseason. Quarterback, I think let's open this back up. They shouldn't try to compete now, but that it doesn't mean they can't get someone that could keep the team morale high. Like if you go into a whole year with a terrible quarterback, it's hard to even want to be at the building, competing every day.
especially when your defense is that good.
So I could see bringing in some cheap vet, something really cheap to go with Shedeur.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, or you just have a bunch of rookies who do have something to prove. Even if they aren't on a winning team, they're trying to make that second contract.
Yeah. I think something I want to bring up for this terrible team is the Davis Mills Texans in 2022, I want to say. They were terrible. They didn't really have any plan. Lovie Smith was the head coach, and they got the second overall pick. There was no good guys on the roster at the time, but then they got C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson in one draft, and that set them up for their next 3 years of trying to compete. So, if you're the Browns, it's not the worst idea to just, we have no hope anyways. Let's just see what happens and maybe be terrible.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm saying, don't try to get Kirk Cousins for $20 million or something like that where, he's competent. Let the floor fall out.
Yeah.
Offensive line, they need every position. Tight end, they need someone behind Harold Fannin. Wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond. None of those guys did really anything above average, so you could really replace that whole room. And then we know they have the elite defense. Myles Garrett is a baller. I don't think they're going to trade him because they think he's the cornerstone of their franchise. I feel like it still makes like you're so far away from competing. I think Myles Garrett is still going to be a top 10 DE in 3 years, but it's like
I think you have an obligation to trade him. That's my view.
And it helps, like, you can help you get a top 2 pick if you don't have the best player on defense still competing every single snap.
He's also on a good contract for his value.
Yeah, compared to Parsons.
He's at $40 million a year. I mean, I still feel like, Watt got $40 million a year.
Yeah. Oh, compared to Watt, he's a crazy advantage.
Yeah. I feel like his contract is a net positive in terms of $40 million a year, even though he is, 29, 30. It just doesn't make sense with their timeline right now to even try with Parsons, like you said. It's easier said than done as a franchise to like look around and be like, all right, guys, we're going to suck, right? Because everything in sports is just based around trying to win.
Yeah.
But this is the year to do it. Just hired Monken. This is the year to be like, okay, we're restarting. Everything's resetting. We trade Myles Garrett. We get 2 firsts, and we just reset the books, and we focus on being good 4 years from now.
I would say you have $80 million. You have the $175 million in dead cap this year. I assume Deshaun Watson's going to have another 50 next year, but I assume most of those other guys are gone. So you go 175 down to 50. Then in year 3, you have a fresh roster. Like, I would build for year 3 right now.
And they just had an awesome draft. They just had probably the best draft in the NFL.
Yeah. Problem is there's no elite positions. You know, it's a tight end, couple running backs,
Mason Graham,
and a linebacker. Oh yeah, you're right. Mason Graham. I heard some negative things about him. He was like top 25 in PFF for DT grades.
Yeah.
And like if he can increment up, he could be a top 10 guy in year 3. I think he was a fine pick.
He was unbelievable against the Packers.
Yeah.
He had the best game of the season against the Packers when they beat us, by the way.
So weird.
Even on Mason Graham, like going into the draft, he didn't strike me as a high ceiling guy. He struck me as someone that just had the intangibles that kept his floor very high. And it seemed like he was playing about where you'd expect him, like with his attributes, how he would perform in his rookie year.
Yeah.
So
that's why like it went back and forth. Should the Browns take Mason Graham, which was a big need at DT, or Armand Membu at O-line? Looking back, you think you maybe would rather have Membu.
Yeah.
But I like Will Campbell went at 4. That he's not some like guy that's been a world beater. It just there wasn't that many elite guys versus like the Joe Alt draft.
Yeah.
I think one of the most fascinating things about the NFL this past few years is how GMs make these massive, huge, calculated fuck-ups, and then the team is just great the next year anyways.
Yeah.
With Hunter, the Browns making this seemingly awesome trade, which I want to ask you about, for Hunter. The Jags trade up all these assets to get Hunter. He's hurt all year, and then they're awesome despite that.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson with the Broncos. They drop him on dead cap. They make the playoffs the first year. The next year they're in the AFC Championship, or playoffs and AFC Championship. The Seahawks, when they traded away Russell Wilson, but they had a bunch of dead cap. There's just a bunch of these weird examples of teams.
I'll say the 2024 Vikings, they used all their capital to get McCarthy and Dallas Turner. Neither one of them played, and they went 14-3.
And then 25, they got both those defensive interior guys, and then their best interior tackle was that rookie.
Yeah.
And neither of their interior guys played well.
Yeah.
Speaking of, going backwards, obviously in hindsight, it's easier to say what we should have done. I liked the Hunter trade. I thought it was aggressive. It was kind of an obvious overpay, but I like the ambition of it and like setting the culture for your franchise and who you are in terms of just going after these elite, game-changing stars. Grogan, what's your evaluation of the Hunter trade a year later?
Taking fantasy out of it, like I feel like there is inherent bias towards that. There's no question that he is a transcendental player and he's one of a kind, and I think it's worth the risk on taking a player like that in the top 5. But to move up to 2, it literally blew my mind. I think
it was another 1, another 2, and a 4.
Yeah. Yeah, and to move up
3 spots.
So
3 spots for it.
Mason Graham, a 1, a 2, and a 4, or Travis Hunter.
I would take that trade from the Cleveland side 10 times out of 10. Yeah. I really don't. I don't care if Travis Hunter ends up being some awesome player.
If he becomes Odell,
that is literally crazy. It's a crazy trade. I don't even know. And like the press conference after that Jacksonville had.
Oh yeah.
They were like, "We know this is insane, but we're setting a culture. We want everyone to know that in Duval, we're like that,"
and it worked.
But Travis Hunter didn't do anything. That's the crazy part.
The big hindsight calculus is the Jacksonville unlikely ends up picking at 24 this year,
Yep.
which makes the trade look way better. I thought there was a very realistic scenario where they end up picking 7 this year, and the trade's an absolute disaster.
Yep. I think their over-under was like 8.5. So it could have been pick 10 or pick 30.
So I guess to kind of like put this all in perspective, Travis Hunter wasn't worth selling the farm, especially on a not proven player. I think that if Jacksonville felt like he was the missing piece and they could win a championship, they better do it next year, because I don't know how much longer they can sustain this with that trade. It was an insane trade to me.
If what you need in order to have that is like players that you didn't contribute a lot of assets to starting to play well. If they can get Jacoby Myers and Parker Washington to be core parts of their receiver room, Travis Hunter plays DB, they could still work for him.
Yeah,
1,000%. And I think Hunter still profiles as a top 10 talent and corner, top 15 talent.
He could be a monster for sure.
No question. The Baltimore Ravens, second place in the AFC North this year. First off, I just want to say this past week, every single day I got home from work and I spent like 2 hours just doing these teams and then draft stuff. This is the first time where like I've actually been like, okay, football is like kind of my job.
Yep.
Kind of sucked.
Oh, really?
I mean,
no,
I think I just like worked to the point where I couldn't anymore.
Yeah.
Each day, and I was actually just putting in like hours, just like trying to figure out this draft class, trying to look into all these teams and just figure out the league because I care about this. And we talked about just like wanting to care. I enjoyed it for the most part, but it was just, to be honest, it was like, oh, this is actually a job now. That's like kind of how it felt.
I know. It does feel like this episode, like recently, is the least fraudulent the football frauds have been.
Yeah.
We're like, the football dogs.
Yeah.
Or the football. But I think it's like, you know what? We need to be somewhere in the middle. We're going to have some opinions that make sense and some opinions where you're like, where you probably know more than us sometimes shit, but that's what you're getting here.
No, you don't. The Niners had the least holes in the NFC West.
They do. I will
no
stand
holes.
on that.
So the Ravens were my Super Bowl pick to start the year. I thought they just had this plethora of secondary talent. I thought the McDonald defensive scheme stuff wouldn't matter as much. They just kind of live off that. Last year, Lamar was unbelievable. Had one of the best seasons ever per PFF grading. It was first-team All-Pro, barely almost did win MVP, and Derrick Henry was first among running backs in PFF grade. They had an unbelievable year, and then Mahomes just pulled out his weird Mahomes magic and just somehow pulled away in that huge game in the AFC Championship last year. Ravens were 8-9 this year, 14th in offense, 15th in defense, 15th overall. Lamar hurt all year. 20th to 38 quarterbacks. So let's go back. Lamar, 2018 is rookie year. He finishes 34th among quarterbacks. And then what I think would be a fascinating thing to look back on, Lamar jumps from 34th. He's really not good in that playoff year, his rookie year. All of a sudden, the next year he comes back, wins MVP, 3rd overall in PFF grade. Next year, 17th, 24th, kind of makes a fall off up to 2022. He's 5th, 2023, 2nd, MVP.
Todd Monken.
2024, 1st, and just this unbelievable season, always in Josh down to 20th this year. Take a look at the Browns' offense. They're 2nd in average depth of target this year, 9 points. The Ravens. 2nd in average depth of target this year, meaning they're trying to get Jackson to throw the ball further downfield. 4th in average time to throw. Part of that is Lamar extending a little bit, but part of that's their offensive line was pretty damn solid. They were 7th in pass block win rate and 17th in run block win rate. Lamar is their guy for the future, and I'd like to know what kind of role he played in having Harbaugh leave. Obviously, that's a huge decision. Harbaugh had been there for 18 years. I really like the hire. What are our thoughts on the hire in general? Let's kind of go back on that. I feel like the more distance we get from it, I feel better and better about Minter in terms of just establishing a coordinator floor and trusting that the Harbaugh organizational excellence is going to like sustain without him.
I personally think that the Ravens. This is probably not the best case scenario. Obviously, the best case scenario is going to the Super Bowl, but I think it was clear that based on the history of like in the past seasons how they've performed down the line. Something needed to change, and unpopular opinion, never really liked Harbaugh.
Fraud.
You've heard me on.
He's been put on fraud watch before, folks.
He runs a player-led team, and the one thing that can really screw you over in a player-led team is that when the players don't like you, you're out. And I would say that I think that Lamar played a pretty big role in it. Not huge, obviously. He strikes me as the type of player that kind of keeps to himself and values his personal life. But I think it was very clear that Lamar has been frustrated with just the outcomes and with the organization and doesn't feel valued there. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did have some say in I need things to change here if I'm going to stay here long term.
Ravens offensive line, Ronnie Stanley this year,
Left tackle.
solid for them. And a big surprise, the guys I hadn't heard about, Roger Rosengarten, a second rounder in 2024.
Yeah, pick 50-something.
Yep. Finished 26th in PFF grade. Really solid for them at right tackle. Their biggest need, likely on offense, say maybe receiver, is at guard. Andrew Voorhees and Daniel Falele, who's a free agent, had underwhelming season, finished in the bottom 20% among PFF grades. So their interior did not block very well. Despite that, Derrick Henry finished 14th in PFF grade, third in explosive runs of 10 or plus more yards, 36 of them.
Patrick Ricard, their fullback, was injured the first part of the season, and there was a pretty big difference in their rushing success rate once he came back. He's also a free agent, so it's going to be interesting to see what Declan Doyle tries to do with that whole scheme.
Certainly. Derrick Henry, 2018, year 3. He finishes first in PFF grade. After that, 7th, 1st, 17th, 7th, 3rd, 1st, and then 14th this year.
Damn. Legend.
A generational run, the exception to all rules about aging, and somebody who I think is probably going to fall in fantasy drafts this year again because of his age.
Yeah.
And is probably still going to be awesome.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what the scheme is going to be.
True.
I could see that. If they don't add, you got to draft him.
Matt, can you give us a little rundown on who we think Declan Doyle is going to be? Do we think he's going to be an offsuit of Ben Johnson? Do we think he's going to develop his own thing? Do you have any trust in him as a play caller?
Yeah. The players overall raved about him. I mean, he was 28 this past year. So to earn the respect of the players, like, I think what it came down to was, like, he knew the offense. He could distill every single detail to every single player. So it's like, the more time I spend with this guy, our OC, he doesn't call plays, he's not in charge, but he has got all the shit down so the players could trust him. He's been under Sean Payton for 5 years, Ben Johnson for 1. Those schemes are honestly similar in the way they play out. It just comes down to, can he make that jump? I mean, you can be the smartest guy in the world, but can you design all the plays and communicate that to your coaches and to your players and have it work on Sunday and then start again on Monday and plan for the next week? Like, there's a lot of responsibility. I think it was a smart hire. It makes me believe in Jesse Minter as a head coach. The fact that he was proactive at finding a guy that has hope for the future. But he's the same age as Lamar Jackson, Declan Doyle. They're both 29. I like it.
Crazy.
It could go very poorly.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say.
At wide receiver, the Ravens are in desperate need of an X and a run blocker.
Yeah, Rashad Bateman has had a fall off.
Yep, Rashad Bateman was bottom 15 in PFF this year. I don't know if he was unhealthy. He was a deep threat for them and had a great statistical season last year. DeAndre Hopkins really was 14th in PFF grade in 334 snaps.
I think they just only threw it to him when it was a favorable matchup, and
he's good on jump balls.
They used him smartly,
Yeah.
But they couldn't. If you threw it to him more often, it would have been poorly. It would have been bad.
Flowers great this year in fantasy. Likely,
Honestly, Flowers was probably the most surprising. Like after the season, when you look at the stats, you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Zay Flowers did that this year?
It didn't. There was a lot of guys like that this year in fantasy where you look back and you go.
Even like outside of fantasy, it's just like, even when I'm watching the games, it didn't really feel like Zay Flowers did much. But when you put the stats on paper, you're like, what did he finish? Was he?
He was wide receiver 7 in fantasy this year.
That's crazy. Would not have guessed that at all.
The Flowers situation presents a really interesting situation for them in the draft. They're sitting there at 16. They have, on offense, a really intense need at guard or center. Linderbaum's also a free agent. He's supposed to get about $17 million. The Chargers have a big need there. They're their favorite to get Linderbaum with a bunch of cap space. but they need an X. They need a run blocker. Flowers is there for the future, and there's a good chance Mekhi Lemon's sitting them for there at 16.
Yeah.
The really interesting question is, like, do you take Lemon? Because, I love Lemon. We went over that. But it's hard to take a guy who's – it's hard to put on the field Mekhi Lemon and Zay Flowers and then expect Lamar or Derrick Henry to be a running threat on outside zone if you can't block outside.
True.
Yeah. Well, I would say – I mean, it's still pretty early in the process. It's not outside the realm of possibility that Tyson or Carnell Tate are available at 16. You just don't know. And you know what, the Ravens have always been a let the board fall team, and they trust that their evaluations, that they can get value at any spot that they're picking based on their evaluations. And so, I mean, I wouldn't put too much weight on if they're going to get a wide receiver, the only option is going to be Lemon. But even at that, it's like if you could have two Michael Jordans on a team, would you choose it? You know, like it's like obviously, like it's like who cares if they do similar stuff?
Excuse
They're
me
both
while I go
really freaking good.
Excuse me while I go clean up my puke in the corner. I think wide receivers probably their a big need that lines up with that range of the draft. I could see them going guard or maybe going defensive end. Mike Green really didn't play very well. For being on some big boards in the top 15, they got him around pick 50. It was not the rookie season you wanted to see from him.
Totally. Likely 26 years old, fascinating free agent. There's a bunch of teams that have tight end needs. Andrews is sitting there, had a decent season, but he's the most boring player in the NFL.
Yeah, so they lost Patrick Ricard. They're also losing Charlie Kohler, who got a good amount of snaps. Two big-ass run-blocking tight end bodies. And, like, if they don't resign guys like that, their run game is going to be completely different than last year.
Yeah.
Totally, especially with Henry, where you want to run man-gap scheme, like downhill. They have a pretty bad interior, especially if Linderbaum leaves. They lose Ricard. And Kolar, who is 10th in PFF grade among tight ends.
Yeah.
But just really good blocker.
Just block the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that also kind of highlights the flaws of PFF grades because it's like you look at players who may have only got 25% of the snap share.
Yeah.
And they might have balled out on those snaps, and it's like, holy shit, this guy was the best. This guy's the best guard in the entire league, and he was a rotational player. And so there's flaws to it.
It like shows you like how did they perform in their role.
Yeah.
But if you want to move them outside of that role, that's still a big risk.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll talk about this forever because PFF grade is just the best way to like
summarize,
to just like try and individualize somebody outside of his scheme and be like, how good was this guy by himself? How good was this player by himself? And that's the best kind of metric we have for it. Obviously, it's super flawed. Ravens defense. Pass rush win rate, 30th in the NFL. They had a really tough time getting pressure. Like Matt said, Mike Green, a lot of people considered to be the best pass rusher in last year's draft. I thought was a steal in the second round. Very poor this year. Didn't show the bend and explosiveness that he showed at, what was it, Bowling Green?
Yeah, and he had issues with hitting his girlfriend, right?
I think it was Eastern
Which is why he
Michigan or
fell.
something like that. Or Marshall. It was Marshall.
They were 12th in run stop win rate. At edge, Draymond Jones was solid for them. Mike Green, 113 out of 119 PFF grade. On the interior, Travis Jones, 7th in PFF grade.
Run stopper.
He's a fourth-year, third-rounder, and he's graded in the top 40 of defensive line each of the last 3 seasons. This was his best season by far.
Big-ass man.
Never hear about him. Has been very solid for them. Also on the interior, John Jenkins, 45th in PFF grade, but is 36 years old. And the X factor for them coming back next year, one of the best interior guys who we kind of forgot about, Matabike. Justin Matabike, who they lost him at the beginning of the season. I think he'll be a massive game changer for next year when he comes back.
I'll jump in on that. He had a neck injury, and there's not a lot of reporting. I checked. It's hard to know what those type of things. It could be fine, but sometimes with neck, maybe you're done for because it's so likely to mess up your spine. So we'll see with that.
Well, and it's not even when it comes down to injuries like that, you could want to come back wholeheartedly and be like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But if a team doctor says no, there's a lot of liability from a team's side of it.
And he's got his big contract, so he's not. Yeah. I mean,
well, yeah, and also the league doesn't want to see someone become paralyzed. In a game that's not good for the sport. So
I want to talk about Kyle Hamilton.
Do it.
Kyle Hamilton's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Just period. End of story. I think he's like the best example of true positionless, like NBA style defender who can do everything. When they were able to bring in Malachi Starks this year, who was solid for them, he's able to free up and play inside the box. They also got Alohi Gilman in a midseason trade who was very good for them down the stretch. Kyle Hamilton, rookie year, drafted 14th overall, fell in the draft, finished first among safeties as a rookie in PFF grade. Second year, 6th.
Nasty.
Third year, 2nd. And this year, 2nd. A true on track to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
For sure.
Like, unbelievable, I think underappreciated, just absolute animal. He's a lead in pass rush, blitzing off the edge. He's like, honestly, he could probably be a pretty league average edge rusher just by himself.
If you added 15 pounds to him, I could see that.
Great in cover. I mean, he can play elite cover 3 deep safety. He can roam despite his speed. He's just great at reading, and he's great in the run game. At corner, they signed Chidobe Awuzie, the back end of his career, in a $1.2 million deal. He finished 14th in PFF grade, which is a huge win for them. Nate Wiggins, solid. Marlon Humphrey finished 103rd out of 112.
He had a big fall off. He's getting older, maybe 29 or so.
29. Seems like he lost a step. 879 snaps, so he played a little bit. This is by far his worst season on tape. Last year, he finished 7th in PFF grade.
His Twitter bio was Marlon.Humphrey at Ethereum. So he's a big crypto guy. So is that good or bad for his value? I mean, that's hard to say.
I'm buying low.
Yeah.
Off-ball linebacker.
It's decentralized Marlon Humphrey. You can't centralize him. It can't be tracked. That's the thing.
Right.
Where is he on the field? It's just you can't locate it.
It's true to say. It really speaks to his character as who he is as a player.
Mm-hmm.
This is really surprising to me. Roquan Smith, one of the top-paid linebackers in the NFL, a guy they traded for from the Bears, per PFF grades has really never been good. He finished 20th this year. And doing my research, he's never finished inside the top 15 in any of his seasons.
Interesting.
Despite, I mean, anyone when they talk about the top inside linebackers in the NFL, Fred Warner, I said the second name was Roquan Smith.
Yep.
Consistently. I just thought that was shocking. He finished 43rd out of 43rd in qualified linebackers and pass rush grade this year. He had no juice blitzing.
Yeah. I know he had real injury concerns.
Yeah.
Whereas like he came back early and it was like, oh, you can tell he wasn't normal. So that's all going to impact it for sure.
He's going to be 29 this year. He's in the 4th year of a 5-year, $100 million deal. And the Ravens have an out this year in his contract. I think a really sleeper potential for this upcoming offseason is them releasing Roquan. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
No, he's still a good player. I think it's like he excels in an elite scheme because he's so smart. And when with McDonald, he was a game changer. Maybe PFF says he wasn't. I think with Jesse Minter again, he can be another game changer.
Sure, the Minter thing definitely changed my perspective on that. He had a $15 million dead cap hit this year, $8 million the year before that. The next 2 years, his dead cap hit raises to $32 million.
You're saying his cap hit?
Cap hit.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't
And then Teddy Buchanan was also decent for them at linebacker, but they play a bunch of nickels, so it's just Roquan out there, and then all these corners they have a bunch invested in. That's the Ravens. I think they're going to be really good next year. I think that Minter is just going to revolutionize their defense and bring them closer to the McDonald days. Yeah. And I just trust in Lamar. He'll be decently healthy. They'll have Henry. If they take Ioane at 16 or any qualified guard or receiver, it's going to really change the complexity of their offense and allow them to run the ball downhill a bunch. The running back position worries me a little bit, but Henry will probably be good till he's 38. Who the fuck knows?
I can see him going either way. They need to have players come out of nowhere and just get better.
Yeah.
But they have the coaching staff to do so.
Yeah, Minter obviously took the Chargers that are probably a bottom 10 unit in terms of talent and turned them into a top 10 unit year after year. So, perfect setup.
All right, what we hitting next?
Up next is the Cincinnati Bengals. I skipped, my bad.
Nope, you're good. I don't think we even had an order. So
we did have an order and he skipped, and it's not okay.
And I'm ashamed.
Okay. We might forgive you eventually.
Thank you.
Check back in a couple of minutes, and we'll see if we forgive you. But Cincinnati Bengals, their cap situation, they have $53 million available right now. And it's not looking too pretty on defense. As everyone knows, it's the most common thing that people talk about is how they're essentially just screwing over Joe Burrow if they aren't going to establish a defense. What are they even doing? Why are they paying T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow all this money? But granted, there's still things that they can do to save money this offseason and try to fix it. One thing that I thought was really interesting was the potential to restructure Joe Burrow's contract.
Okay.
If he wants to stay, they can restructure and save about $20 million this year. But I also have this thought in my head of my perfect reality is them figuring out how to get Joe Burrow in LA.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen this year. It doesn't make any sense this year. But
I've heard the murmurs.
Yeah. Hey, did you hear it? Did you hear it before or after I started them?
Yeah, you could have been the central point of all of them. You know.
Hey,
I didn't get to see the spread of how it moved through the NFL community.
Exactly. So it's like you guys think that we're frauds, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think that we're frauds. No. You think that we're just regurgitating shit that other people say.
You need to check your shit, okay?
But how about this? How about put yourself in a reality where it's flipped, and all these top analysts are taking takes from us,
football gods,
and that is the reality that we are in right now. But anywho, so outside of fairy tale land of Joe Burrow getting traded, I do think that restructuring his contract makes sense. It only helps him, and if Joe Burrow seems like he's frustrated that they're not winning, and so there's potential that he's open to it, and that'd put your cap situation at $70 million.
I'm going to be the wet fart guy really quick. I'll try to be quick. The Bengals are really poor, or they don't like to act like they have money.
Yeah.
So they don't like to put money in escrow, which means you don't have access to it.
Yeah.
When you restructure and put signing bonuses into the future, you don't have access to that money during now, so you can't use it to like accrue stock market money or whatever type of percentile gains you're getting. So that's kind of why it would suck to be a Bengals fan. You have all these good players, but they can't like use the money or the cap to get an advantage because they're so scared of like this tiny little money BS. So I'd be surprised if they did that because they're losers. Honestly, they're losers.
I mean, but I can see. The only reason
they're
I can
poor
see
and they're losers
is because it's a small market. It's a small market,
and it's like a family-owned thing. It's been there for a long time,
and you don't always have a Joe Burrow. And
true.
You know what? You could own a franchise for 40 years and only have one Joe Burrow.
Well, that's like the guarantees they put into T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow's contract.
Mm-hmm.
They hadn't done that. They didn't do guarantees beyond year 1 or year 2.
Yeah,
and they're already changing what they do a little bit.
Yeah, I think
it's a good point.
Part of me feels like it's like they're set in their ways. They don't believe anyone that's telling them that you have to spend this money. Now's the time until it's proven. And I don't know how much more proof they need that whatever is going on right now isn't working.
Yeah. It's not.
The other big thing that everyone talks about is the Trey Hendricks situation. He is a free agent this year, but there is still opportunities for Cincinnati to work with him or use him to trade. But the only situation that happens is if they franchise tag him.
Yeah.
And that would still add $30 million at least when you put a franchise tag on a player like that. And I think it's the best option because if you are going to go all in, keeping him on the team, it makes the most sense.
Yeah. They're just hard. Like, I want them to be a win now team, or I want them to be a win later team, but I just kind of feel like they're neither. Like, I don't know what they should do.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. But even if you let Trey Hendricks walk, you'll still get a compensatory pick, and he's one of the best edge rushers in the league. And so it's not going to be a nothing pick either. And if you tag him, you can work on it. Buys you more time for an extension. Prove to him that we're going to try and win. He has been on record saying that he's not going to play under his current deal.
Mm-hmm.
So either buys you time for a trade or an extension, and if not, it's I think it's the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Is the tag essentially. They're financially healthy and they can be aggressive in free agency. There's positives. It's not like they have to like do a whole bunch of roster mumbo jumbo to have stuff available.
It's just like their entire defense. There was almost no standout players. So it's like you got this $53 million, but like, how many holes can you fill with it?
Yeah. Something else. Switching over to the coaching situation. I was pretty surprised that they kept Zach Taylor. It seemed like it's like the players, the fans, everyone that had anything to do with that organization was not happy with even like how things were ran.
Yep.
And the idea that you keep Zach Taylor, you keep your OC, you keep your DC, I don't know what's going on.
On our coaching prediction episode, we talked about how we believe that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and this average offensive line could kind of incubate an offense on its own. We like the idea of bringing in a defensive guy. I think we might have said Brian Flores.
Yeah.
To like, can we get, what the chicken salad out of chicken shit idea for our defense? Like, get it more towards average and let the offense run itself a little more with an average, or like a newbie OC. Mm-hmm. I still wish they would have done that. I just feel like what's going to happen this year that's going to be anything exciting for the fan base?
No.
Competent franchises don't keep Zach Taylor.
No.
There's
I
no
think it's a money thing.
1,000%, which is why they're not a competent franchise.
Yep.
They're not a serious franchise.
No.
They're coasting off this Super Bowl. If they had made that Super Bowl, this would be considered an abject failure of a franchise, even with Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Yeah. They made the Super Bowl as carrying to this point. Keeping Zach Taylor is just like an example of how true incompetence can just carry on because you don't want to spend money.
And he's on contract through 2027, and so they just don't want to have that money owed.
1,000%.
Yep.
They don't have enough money.
And it would suck. I always think about the fans. I'm a fan guy, fan over rich people.
He's a giver.
I'm a giver. It would just suck so bad to have this like amazing quarterback and he's there year after year after year, and you just look at the finances and the ownership and like you start to realize we're screwed. It doesn't matter that we got this amazing quarterback and we finally felt like we were close at the Super Bowl. Like, it just doesn't feel like they're gonna get there. You need to like make money on them, like the Bears, for example. I'm a Bears fan. They've started to spend money on head coach and position coaches and coordinators. And it's like, wait, you can just get better coordinators if you're willing to spend a few more million at every spot. And then you realize every player is getting better. Like, the players are getting better. People talk about, like, do you hit your draft picks or do you not? That's a real thing. But, like, do your coaches improve your players or not? That's another real thing.
How much is it on the rookie for not performing as it is on the coordinators and the staff for not?
Like Shamar Stewart, maybe he could have been good or maybe he's a terrible prospect.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys, even if they didn't like Shamar Stewart, they had him at like the 30th overall prospect instead of the 12th.
Exactly.
He was the worst defensive end in the entire league.
It wasn't. I don't even know if it was close.
That doesn't make any sense. No, I'm just saying, like, I remember there's a highlight play where he gets pancaked multiple times.
119 of 119.
And so that's like among people who get enough snaps, they had him as the worst.
Yeah.
Maybe it's character concerns. I don't know what it is, but it can't be just him. It has to be the environment somehow.
Well, and that's the other thing. I always talk about how if like a player's character matters a lot to me, and it sounds like I'm just some traditional like.
You're white. Let's say it. Let's say the truth out there.
I'm a black woman from Cincinnati.
Yeah, there we go.
But if you have someone who clearly has potential physically and has the attributes, but isn't self-motivated, and needs structure, and you can't provide that, or you can't even recognize that, what are we doing here?
And it would be one thing if just Shamar Stewart didn't pan out, but when you have 4 or 5 consecutive drafts of not a single defensive or non-Jamar Chase premium talent Higgins Burrow player panning out, and consistently net guys just not even are they reaching their ceiling, they're not reaching floor competency at every position.
Yeah, totally. Exactly, yeah.
There's a track record, and there's a history of things happening that way, and it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a little draft run-through quick. So Shamar Stewart, first round, Dylan Fairchild. Demetrius Knight, linebacker, second round. 2 defenders that played terrible as rookie. Chris Jenkins, second round, played terrible thus far. Miles Murphy, And Miles Murphy has had some. No, he's been bad. DJ Turner's a DB. He's been okay at times.
Murphy had a breakout year.
You go back to 2022, Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt. Sometimes you see some positive things out of them, but not good enough. It's like every single 2021, Joseph Osai has been fine. Just these guys they've taken in the high rounds on defense just haven't panned out enough. And if you don't have the money to get these big free agents and you're not developing these rookie defenders, it's not going to work.
Yeah, but I feel like it's less about not having the money and not willing to spend the money.
Yeah,
1,000%.
I do think it's real that like if you own Walmart and you own the Broncos, you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
let's just hand out money. Whereas if all you ever owned is the Bengals, I mean, it is true. I bet if they acted crazy all the time, they might run out. I don't know how it works, but
that's the thing. I have no idea how it works. All I know is what's going on isn't working. But I guess just to run into the free agents this year. So we already talked about Trey Hendrickson. We talked about the things that they can do to keep him, or just things that they can do with him to get more value instead of just letting him walk and getting a compensatory pick. Other than that, they got Geno Stone, safety, leaving. Joe Flacco, who's going, but I mean that's almost nothing.
Yeah, it was just fun. He played okay for them. Yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, and I mean, it kept them in high hopes, I guess. It gave them something. But
exactly.
And then Noah Fant. Outside of that, not too many high level names, household names that are heading out, but they do have a huge gap in the interior offensive line that's heading out. They have 3 guards leaving, a whole bunch of cornerbacks on free agency, and it just seems like those are their 2 biggest needs by far. So for them, if they keep Hendrickson, edge rusher doesn't become as big of a need, and they can hope Shamar Stewart pans out. But if they don't have him, they have to fix their interior offensive line if they're going to keep Joe Burrow healthy and not have to trade for another Joe Flacco. And they got to figure out their cornerback situation. And I feel Trey Hendrickson, all this sentiment of, if I'm going to stay here, I'm not going to stay here on a deal. Like, I'm coming towards the end of my career. I'm a winner. I don't like losing.
He should just leave. He should go somewhere else.
Yep.
If I were him, I would do that as well, unless he can be proved that something is going to change.
They're not a serious franchise. It's disrespectful for a guy who performs like that. It's just fucking disrespectful to be a star for them and then not to commit to you at all. It's just very clear they're not willing to invest. And at that point, you're like, I'm going to leave. I think it's disrespectful.
Oh, no part of me thinks that Trey Hendrickson is in the wrong for being like, I've proved myself. I need money, and if you guys aren't willing to pay me, I'm going to go somewhere else. But that being said, it's like, if you own an NFL franchise, the goal isn't to just be mediocre. The goal is to win.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the pieces that you truly believe can get you there, and it's already been proven, I don't know what's holding you back from just... You have the cap space. You have holes. Figure it out. It's like they're trying to play Moneyball, but they suck.
Yeah, but I mean, that 53 is there. Let's say they sign a three average starters on defense and they fill in a couple back end holes.
Best case scenario.
They'll still probably be like 9 wins.
Yeah.
9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, but I'm like...
Because they're not... Like, the Seahawks, the reason they were so good, every single first round, second round, third round pick was playing above their pay grade. When you have these guys that aren't hitting, you can't fill it in.
Do you know where they're drafting this year?
10.
Isn't it 8 or 10? Okay, yeah.
I think they can fill one of their immediate starter needs there.
Yeah, I like if
they're praying that Ruben Bain drops to them.
Who I can't think of the state. Caleb Downs. If Caleb Downs fell, that'd be great too.
But also it's like if their window is small, I'm not taking Ruben Bain there if Hendricks is on the roster.
Why?
I'm not.
I think
they took Stewart last year.
I think we can't define their window. Their window is now and later and never. It's
it never is. It never was.
It is Schrodinger's window. Like we can't. It cannot be isolated.
I like that.
They probably should go edge, but as a GM, I think it's really hard to justify. Even if you put resources in somewhere and a guy's not good, it's really hard to tell each of your position coaches and each of your guys at each level of your roster personnel-wise, like, we're going to spend another first-round pick on edge.
Yeah, but Joseph Osai is leaving. He was their best defensive end that got snaps this past year.
Besides Stewart and Hendrickson?
Well, Hendrickson was injured for a lot of the season.
What I'm saying is Stewart, they spent a first-round pick on him.
Yeah. But, like, how the Panthers took
and a first on Miles Murphy in 21.
The way the Panthers took 2 first-round wide receivers back-to-back, and they missed on one, and then they hit with Tedero McMillan, to me, like, Shamar Stewart could become above average or below average or whatever. Just take the best player available, and if Bain falls, you got to hit Bain.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to look at all your personnel guys and like trying to like tell everyone on your team we're trying to like put talent in each position in the roster and then spend a first round pick on Miles Murphy in 2023, a first round pick on Shamar Stewart in 2025, and then take another first rounder at edge.
Yeah. But to me, if you're looking at the DB coach, it's like your guys aren't going to look good until we get some pressure on the quarterback. Like,
I agree with that.
Like if you don't have any above average edges, it's just like, what is your defense really going to be? Or honestly, above average D lineman at all.
I definitely agree. I just think a real variable is it's really hard to keep putting resources into one specific position group.
I get you, but if Hendrickson and Osai are both free agents, so it depends. If you're keeping those guys, then maybe you don't want to take a DE. But if you're not, then you need to.
Yeah, and I think on that note, the Bengals, they have money to spend, and they have clear and obvious holes to fill. Will they do it?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Zach Taylor's gone.
But on that note,
one note in the Bengals quick. Out of 88 linebackers, there are 3 linebackers that played this year, 85th, 82nd, 88th. Sonny Styles could easily be sitting for them at 10.
True.
we'll see.
That brings us to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Your AFC North champions, world beaters, unstoppable Pittsburgh Steelers. They were so good last year.
Mike Tomlin
Can't be stopped.
Mike Tomlin retired with never a losing season. Left the Steelers without a losing season.
It's so
Is he the
sexy.
GOAT?
I'm just telling you for a fact this upcoming year they're going to be fucking atrocious. I have a very, very deep, dark instinct that they're going to have fucking 3 wins.
It depends what they do with their old guys. If they keep all their old guys, I could see them having 7, 8 wins still.
It sounded like the murmurs, even like from people in the team, were saying, like we're coming to terms with, we're gonna have to offload and figure out how, like, where our window is and how we're gonna get there. And then all of a sudden it's just like, actually, screw that, we're still going for it. And I don't know. I think I'd like them to keep winning. I think that'd be great. I think that'd be cool. But who knows what they're gonna do?
Yeah, I think we talked about on our coaching preview show. We talked about how they've gone 3 coaches in a row. They've hired a guy in his 30s, and they've built with him among over a decade. We're like, they should do that again. Honestly, their roster needs to reset. We said they should go someone young and smart on either side of the ball, whatever. I don't think any of us saw Mike McCarthy coming.
No, but you don't hire Mike McCarthy if you aren't trying to contend. That's what I'm saying. You already know what he
It's
is.
so stupid.
It's
Can I just,
stupid.
like,
It's stupid,
It
but-
is insanely stupid.
It's stupid, but that's what they're trying to do.
No, you're right. You're
Yeah.
totally right. But like, what the fuck?
No, it's-
what are you doing?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Like, to me, the point of being a team in the NFL is you are either competing for Super Bowl or you are telling yourself we are taking steps to get to a point to compete. The Steelers aren't competing and they're not taking steps. So what are they doing?
Especially if you told Tomlin, like, hey, it's time. If Tomlin didn't say, I'm leaving, and you were like, it's time to head on, and then you hire Mike McCarthy,
Yes.
unacceptable process.
You know what's fucking so crazy to me? I've always been a Rodgers stan,
Yep.
and you know what? I'll still think that he's top 3 until the day I die. I will
In
go
the
to,
NFL or all time?
Oh, not right now.
Oh, okay.
But that is
No.
exactly what I'm about to say.
I think he's amazingly good. It's not his fault he tore his Achilles.
First take. Aaron Rodgers is a top 3 NFL quarterback still.
it blows my mind the extent that these teams will go to keep this man playing football. I mean, I'm like, he's fucking like 50,000 years old and he can't move. I'm like, I get why the Steelers wanted him there. You know, he's a bridge quarterback. He's at the end of his career. If you guys have a window and you want to get there, bring him in. He showed you he has things that he can't do, and that will keep him from being at that top level. It doesn't mean he can't play. Doesn't mean he can't be a starting NFL quarterback. I'm just saying, why are you hiring Mike McCarthy? It seems pretty clear to me that the only reason why is because you think that he has a connection to Rodgers and Rodgers might stay.
Whoever the decision maker isn't smart. But I'm just gonna say it. Like, they think like, oh, you know, we're always close. We're winning games. Rodgers is a proven quarterback. We're winning. Like,
yes, they're in the mindset of we're almost in the playoffs every single year. We're competent every year. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're almost there. We're not going to rebuild. That's not what we do. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We have T.J. Watt. We have Alex Highsmith, who's a 37-year-old D tackle that's amazing. Cam Hayward.
And Keanu Benton. Benton.
I was looking at PFF. Apparently, he's just fine. I thought he was good.
Well, he's good. I mean,
PFF says he's
for your
fine.
second D tackle, fine is pretty dang good.
And Derek Carmen, I thought he was good. They also, you know, I love PFF because I don't know everyone, but sometimes I'm hearing good things about guys, and PFF says no, and I don't know who to believe.
And we're back.
That was crazy.
Took a little ad break there.
Yeah, PFF is crazy the way they grade players. Who knows what's going on there?
Yeah, well, there was some interference.
Yep, things happened.
I just want
to circle back.
NFL player. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's crazy the way like the ball is snapped. I swear he's like trying to like get to the quarterback every time.
Every time.
Yeah, crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I noticed when looking
Give her
at
a receiver.
That's not a question for me, bud.
I noticed when looking at the Steelers, specifically Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Queen, two defenders that are getting older. Jalen Ramsey, 19.5 dead. They would have 19.5 million free if they cut him. I know they're trying to compete now, but they already have 45 million in cap space. I don't think Jalen Ramsey at like year 32 or 33, whatever he is probably worth 20 million versus a free agent they could get to replace him. And beyond that, Patrick Queen, you might think of him as when he was with Roquan Smith and Mike McDonald, and he was playing great. But his PFF score this year was 43. That's almost as bad as it gets at linebacker. You can cut him and save 13 million. I think that makes sense. One more, Jonnu Smith, he fell off. He had a great year with Mike McDonald. Arthur Smith did not reactivate Jonnu Smith. You can save $7 million with him. So if you cut those three guys, the Steelers are looking at $85 million in cap space. So they can add to this Mike McCarthy fuckery that's occurring. Still not happy about it, but they have some money if they cut those guys.
All that being said, I think you really can talk yourself into a scenario where McCarthy is able to develop a young quarterback in the loaded draft next year, or with Will Howard, 6th-rounder, who a lot of guys had as a 3rd-rounder. He ended up falling.
Some guys.
A guy they liked. I think there is a scenario you can talk through where it's like, okay, we played these guys out on defense. They end up leaving. We got 58 in cap mill, or like in cap space. And maybe Will Howard's the 26th best quarterback, and we get a guy next year. I think you can talk yourself into a scenario where it ends up being stable, and they end up staying around 7 wins, and they kind of work their way through this.
I appreciate you being devil's advocate, but if I could advocate for Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, I would say that Mike McCarthy has lived in the West Coast scheme with Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. These cerebral, read the field, diagnose the defense, find an elite receiver, get him open, and be badass. That's what he's been doing for 20 years.
Players coach.
What do we believe? Like, if he brings in a young guy, whether it's Will Howard or a 1st-round pick next year, I don't think he has the tools to build a current-day NFL offense that can really assist him. I think he's going to be like, okay, so, like, you're not being like Aaron Rodgers right now, and I just feel like if you could be a little more like Aaron Rodgers, that could help. That could help us.
Can you like change the play at the line of scrimmage every play so I don't have to do any work?
I'm going to tell you something. You need to look at the defense and just
just
totally do something different.
Whatever you think is going to have the most success, just do that. I'm going to just kind of chill here and act like I know what's going on.
Okay, you be Mike. I'm going to be Will Howard. Okay, so I was at the snap. I read it all, and I noticed that all their DBs just kind of like ran around in a different spot. They were not where I expect them to be at all. Coach, what do you think I should do?
Figure it out. Call an audible.
I really respect you, Coach.
We're at 20 seconds. I got to cut out. Bye.
And scene.
And I'm Troy Aikman.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. This guy.
Aaron Rodgers.
That was actually Chris Collinsworth is who that was.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Mike, look at this guy. He's 42. He's still doing it.
And that was some
crazy.
top-tier acting that you just saw from the football frauds.
Okay, so we don't like the coach. We don't really like the quarterback plan, assuming it's Rodgers. Who has this team as, like, who is owning it of us?
You?
Can be all of us.
Okay, I'm gonna act
had
like
it?
I have some sort of ownership. Their offensive line played decent this past year. Offensive coordinator Arthur Smith did some okay things. I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of difficult to play with, but he worked alongside it. Left guard Isaac Seumalo had a 73 PFF score. That's pretty good for a guard. They have cap space. I think whoever is that quarterback, it probably makes sense to just bring him back. I don't know if it's $14 million, $16 million. Probably gonna have to pay, but get him back, keep him playing.
The thing is,
Did I say that?
I had the Steelers.
Okay.
Oh, whatever. So I want to pose to you guys this whole. Okay, obviously we're like Mike McCarthy and a rookie. I don't know where that comes from. He literally has no proven track record with a rookie.
Yeah, he
but
doesn't.
does it make sense to bring Aaron Rodgers back? And he's getting paid, like I said, half of a ham sandwich to go play NFL football.
He got like 8 last year. He might get 6 if he plays this year, maybe. I mean,
The thing is, he just wants to win. And if you're trying to win, doesn't it make sense to bring in a guy that's like, just give me money, give me some money, and we'll do this.
if you make your goals stupid goals, it does make sense.
So there was just a report from a prominent Steelers reporter who's kind of trusted that Rodgers doesn't want to come back to the Steelers.
Okay.
That McCarthy wasn't a hire for Rodgers and that their relationship frayed at the end is not something to be involved with. He wants to win now. Last offseason, Aaron Rodgers talked about a distinct interest in playing for the Vikings, following the
Yeah.
Brett Favre route.
Yep.
Does Rodgers not make perfect sense for the Vikings?
I would buy it.
Well, we might talk about that next episode.
That is true. Stick around in 2 days for the NFC North upload. It's going to rock your socks. I think that we don't know if Rodgers is staying or not. I agree. Why would he really – like, he knows McCarthy more than anyone. Does he think there's some ceiling here? If he could have a chance, he's going to explore the Vikings option if there's a chance.
What I want to say is, if it's not for Rodgers, what the literal hell?
The
literal hell?
I think just picture a guy. I think the current Rooney of the Steelers is an older person. I think like he just wants to talk to someone in an interview and be like, "This is a nice guy."
Yeah.
McCarthy's from the area. I think he's a great hang, great talk.
He's considered to be a great guy, widely respected the NFL, great hang, like very senator-like.
Your team is like, you're not going to be a laughing stock. Maybe among nerdy analysts, people will say you're not building a Super Bowl caliber roster at any point. But in terms of just like win-loss, you're not going to be a laughing stock.
When you frame it that way, it makes perfect sense to me. We haven't finished below 500 every year. We're the Pittsburgh fucking Steelers.
Yep.
Mike Tomlin just left. We're not going to suck. We're not going to tank. What is tanking?
I have a family legacy to uphold. Like,
Yeah.
As long as I'm in charge, we're going to keep competing because we compete.
That's not what we do. We don't lose games.
I can't. I could see how an idiot old person might think that.
Bad process, probably what happened.
All right, Matt, run through the big things that this team can do to get better this offseason.
Okay, a couple more things. Calvin Austin was a wide receiver 2 last year. He was fine. He's a free agent. Kenneth Gainwell surprised people. He was a great receiving back. He's a free agent. Cornerback James Pierre, he's a free agent. He was really great in a limited role. Otherwise, not too many guys leaving the roster. I talked about those cuts. Let's assume that the Steelers do make those cuts while we're looking at their roster and their openings. Quarterback, someone cheap or Rodgers. Let's just assume it's something like that.
Yeah.
I think they're good at running back with Caleb Johnson and who's the Warren? Jalen Warren. Wide receiver is a big need. They have DK Metcalf. For how much they're paying him, I don't really love giving up a second-round pick and paying DK Metcalf $30 million a year. I don't think that was a great process.
Did Pickens walk or did they trade for him?
They traded a third.
Damn.
So they lost a third, gained a second for Pickens to Metcalf, which in hindsight didn't work.
I mean, Pickens is a...
But we don't know what would have happened with Pickens. If he didn't get access to Dak, he stayed with Rodgers, it could have blown up.
Yeah.
For sure. He's an off-the-field disaster.
So I think in free agency or the draft, they're going to need to address wide receiver 2. It could be. I like the idea in the draft. Probably at least something in free agency. O-line. One thing I want to highlight is Broderick Jones was a first-round pick in 2022. Troy Fautanu was first-round pick tackle in 2023. Fautanu has been a little bit above average, fine enough, not great. Broderick Jones really hasn't worked out. I think he's from Georgia. So depending how much leash you want to give him, you could replace him at tackle. Otherwise, I would re-sign Sayamalu at guard. Going to the defense, they're good at defensive end. They still have TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig. Interior, you have Cam Hayward. He's not a free agent. He's expensive and he's old, but he's still playing amazing. So if you're going to compete, you're going to keep him. Otherwise, we talked about Keanu Benton and Derek Harmon. I think there's someone else there too. We all like those guys. PFF thinks they're fine.
You mean the guy who finished first in PFF grade this year at 37 years old, Cam Hayward?
It's so sexy.
Isn't that?
How?
Think about that.
I don't know.
I'm thinking about it. I like what I'm thinking.
That'd be a fun film to watch. Like, is he just a monster? He's a 37-year-old. Like,
It's unbelievable.
Well, yeah, but
Boss?
it's also the high tide raises all ships. It's like when you can't just double team one guy. That's what makes Myles Garrett
but I'm
so
saying,
crazy.
No one else's grade was that high. He was the Tide.
Yeah, or he deserved double teams and they couldn't get it.
Yeah, no, you're right. They were not. They were still decent to good across the board.
Also insane to see James Pierre finish second in PFF grade.
Yeah, he played 32% of snaps.
Stupid.
Yeah.
I don't like. It's weird when PFF grades a guy that high, you'd think that would increase their snap share. Obviously, we're not as smart as Tomlin and whoever their DC was, but
Who the fuck knows? Needs wide receiver. I think their offensive line is. I mean, you don't really want Broderick Jones. I think Fautanu's solid.
Yeah.
Their interior is really solid.
yep.
They feel like they can run the ball. They're set at running back. Tight end, they have a bunch of resources. Corner,
If they had an average quarterback and a good schemer, I could see their offense shooting up.
I
Yeah.
think there's a great chance that Connor's guy, Denzel Boston, is sitting there at 18 for them as an obvious.
I would like that.
Just like X. I
Yeah.
think he'd make a bunch of
And
sense there.
Was Connor making a move on him last weekend?
Boston, I think he's just really high in his ability to get downfield. I think he had,
No, I mean,
he's
like, it was a little intimate. Just seems like he's really got a strong
6'4".
Yeah, it's a lot of man. Connor, what do you have to say about those allegations?
I plead the fifth on those allegations. Don't think Denzel Boston fits well here, but if they can get someone in the slot, like actually, if they can either get someone that can stretch the field, like an Alec Pierce, or someone that's just a slot monster, their offense is incredibly better to me.
Yeah.
You don't like Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
Again, this Aaron Rodgers, like the thought of this guy just walking into the front office and being like, "Hey, you should sign this guy," and they're like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yep." And then they sign him, and he throws him three balls to the end zone to win the game, and he drops all of them.
And he finishes 127th out of 128th receivers.
It's like okay, when does this guy just stop like getting glazed, dude?
The Vikings gave up a 4th-round pick for him, I think.
Scantling?
No,
Thielen.
Thielen.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Holy
I'm pretty
fuck.
sure to get him from the Panthers this year because it was like, oh, it's a homecoming. He loves the Vikings. He wants to end his career there. A 4th-rounder, and he didn't play like almost. They already had Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, and Ty Felton, who they just drafted with the 3rd-round pick.
Mensa, what a fucking disaster.
Yeah, but we'll get into that next episode. And on that note, if you liked this content, you should think about subscribing. I don't know. What do you guys say?
Don't subscribe.
Our content from here is going to severely go downhill.
It's all going to be downhill from here.
Yeah, and if you want to see the demise of this Football Frauds podcast, then you should subscribe and like this content.
I love you.
Leave a birthday comment for Miles. He loves you guys. Even though he says he hates you, he doesn't. Peace.
Bye.